Hello and good evening. Welcome, students, to the class of Public International Law. I think you're all able to hear me. Can somebody please confirm?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Right,
Yes.
great. Once again, it's a great evening here in Pune. Uh, all day it was raining, and uh, because of the storm which is going on near about Mumbai and Pune, that's the reason. And the atmosphere and the environment here is quite magical, and clouds are fantastic. I'm sorry I could not get the image of the clouds even today, but I'm sure that I'll be able to do it maybe by tomorrow. Let me just tell you that my PIL classes are almost about to be completed, and soon your other public international law teacher would be there to further take up the classes. And only I think 2 to 3 units are remaining from my side, which I wish to finish maybe by tomorrow or the day after. Right? So I want you guys support so that I could finish the same well in time. However, I will be available for any of your queries, for any of your doubts so far as public international law is concerned. Okay. Uh, Now, moving further, you have an interesting unit that is the last unit, I think the 12th unit in your syllabus. It's called International Terrorism. And today and tomorrow, we are gonna see as to what do you mean by terrorism, because everybody knows. I need not tell you because you guys are now grown up and you already know what do you mean by terrorism. Rather, I will point it out to you the intricacies and the problems and challenges that lies before the states when they encounter or counter terrorism, right? So we are going to see today international law aspects of countering terrorism, that is its contemporary prospects and the challenges, right? So I would like you to please pay attention. We just have 37 slides, and I wish to finish it as soon as possible. All right, and then after today we'll have the focus on the international law as to what is there in international law as far as terrorism is concerned, because almost every state has been affected by the same, and India is no not immune from the same. So it's very much important for us to get to know what do you mean by international terrorism and how the states are countering with their different measures so far as the menace of terrorism is concerned. Before we go for you see the further discussions about the same, can do you have any idea about what do you as to how many international conventions are there for the protection of terrorism? Any idea? Anybody? Have you heard any of the international conventions or international measures that could have been taken place? You can just unmute yourself and please speak out if you are aware of the same. Or rather, asking this question, I would ask, what do you understand by terrorism? And then we'll discuss, right? Can anybody please explain me in brief as to what do you mean by terrorism?
The killing of ordinary people at large.
Killing of ordinary people at large.
Yeah.
Okay, Samad, okay, you're quite right. Is there anything else to it? Or do you think terrorism is bad?
Yeah,
Terrorism is
sir.
bad.
Sir, it is
I
definitely bad if it is, harming public at large. And it is, demonstrating government building the and it is eventually, uh, destroying all of the public infrastructure that is to be used by the public.
All right. Now I want you guys to take the example of Israel and Palestine. It is like the situation of India and Jammu and Kashmir, right? So do you think the Palestinians do you treat Palestinian citizens as terrorists? Anybody? What do you think of the Palestinian cause? Because international community is saying that Palestine must be free, and uh, uh, Palestine must be free, and it should be made another separate entity or state under international law. The activities had happened in the year, way back in the year 1948, and then only United Nations has stated or recognized the existence of the Palestine. So, what do you think? People fighting for Palestine, free Palestine, people who are Palestinian citizens, are they terrorists? What do you think? Anybody?
No, sir.
So they are not terrorists. Instead, uh, as per their feelings and thoughts, they are writing for
Who
their
who
rights.
is who is speaking? I don't know.
So Mansi.
Mansi, yeah.
As I was saying, so the people in Gaza Strip, or basically the Palestinian people, so they are in their head, they are fighting for their rights. So in terms of terrorism, so they shouldn't be called as terrorists, because uh, like,
And
yes,
all
sir.
right, and the people, those who claim independence for Jammu and Kashmir, what about them? Do you think people, those who are calling or preparing or carrying a movement to free Jammu and Kashmir from India or maybe from Pakistan, and suppose they commit some violence activities because they are so desperate to get their independence, are they terrorists?
So by the
Yes, sir.
books, they are called out as terrorists. But I think like many people, even within India, they protest against the partition and everything. But then again, we can't call everyone and anyone terrorists
What could be
on
the
that basis.
parameters? On what basis? Because you are saying that people, those who are fighting for Palestine, they are not terrorists. And here in Jammu and Kashmir, they are also fighting for their independence and they are terrorists. That's what you're saying? So,
Sir, I'm
yeah.
confused.
Anybody else? Anisha, are you there? Anisha Sharma? No.
Yes, sir.
Anita, are you there? Anisha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Anisha, are you in BA or BBA?
VBA, sir.
All right, great. What do you think, Anisha?
Sir,
People,
I
those
think,
who did you heard our conversation before?
yes, sir, I did.
Yes. What is your opinion?
I think terrorism is something where, l- like, it's like someone's life is threatened by it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for someone's benefit, like that.
Okay. Let's hear from Anita. Anita, are you there? Anita Gomango. That's your surname? Anita is not there, it seems. Anshuman Dev, are you there? Anshuman is not there. We have so many sleeping partners with us, guys. Gumanna is there. Hi, Gumanna. Hi, Gumanna. How are you?
Good, sir. You can call me Kushla. Yeah,
Kushla.
terrorism aiming for some violence by a group of people.
All right, just 2 minutes of more of your answers, and then we'll get back to my presentation. Okay. Then do we have yeah, Garima? Do you want to add?
Um, yes, sir. I have a viewpoint on this.
Yes, please.
So whatever is happening to the Palestinians, I guess that is terrorism. Because according to me, what terrorism means is basically it is the unlawful use of violence or maybe intimidation
Hmm.
for the like in pursuit of your political aims or your religious aims. And whatever is happening there is in pursuit of their like they want the land. They are treating Muslims in a very bad way, and whatever is happening is unlawful violence. So I guess that is terrorism.
But from if you think from Israel's point of view, they are creating Palestinian people are creating, especially Palestinian Muslims are creating a lot of problems. And for them, they are coming to their own Israel and creating the problems and violent activities. So from if you see from Israel's point of view, they're quite right actually.
Sir,
And
but
so
the
I just
Sir,
wanted to
may I
add
speak?
one more thing.
Yeah.
Uh, that the first bombarding started from Gaza Strip towards Israel, matlab, as per the facts that I have read. So now they are, matlab, it all started from them, and then they revolted against it, and this is how it all started.
Yeah, you're right, but they have a very peculiar and a particular bloody history in between these two people. You see, every other time, these somebody is being killed, and small children. You see, yesterday one of my
Yes,
friends
for
who
that
is
I agree.
living in Palestine has sent me the video, and she had told me that look, this is what's happening in front of my door, and there were a lot of blind firings and bombings going on from the side of Israeli forces right in front of the door, and it gave me really goosebumps. Um, you see, because um, I I met her during one of our international law conferences, and this is how we became friends. And, she became like my sister now. So so frightened and without I don't know what kind of advice should I give to these people. You see, they cannot leave the territory, they cannot leave their homes also. That is the problem. Now they are evacuating. I heard every family, and they are evacuating them from their own homes in Palestine. This is the condition which is very much disturbing, and I could not believe what is going on. Even at this time of at this time, because we are living in an advanced world and still we are fighting on the basis of religion and whatnot. So there are two views in this particular connection that I wanted to tell you guys. Before I go directly for my presentation, any more views, any more ideas? We have Pradnya Chauhan also. Pradnya, are you there? Or
Hello.
Pradnya, are you listening to us?
Yes, sir. I'm
What do you
audible.
think?
Hello.
Yes, were you listening to our conversation, Pradnya?
From starting. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Pradnya.
Okay, okay, sir.
All right, Rishita, are you there? Rishita or
Yes,
Rajat?
sir. Sir, Rishita here.
Rishita, what do you think, Rishita?
Sir, I think Israel is playing a major victim card here. Although the first attack, the major attack, that was done by Gaza, but it was done after giving a serious warning to the Israel. And earlier the attack, Israel was already conducting illegal eviction of all the people living in Gaza. So I
Mhm.
think Israel is playing a major victim card, and also the eviction which is conducted by Israel is also illegal on the international basis.
All right, great. You see, we all must know this fact that Palestinian people they don't have. You see, the I mean those people, those who are living in the east side of the Jerusalem, they are not actually being well equipped with the arms and ammunition. And on the other hand, the Israel has a modern. Israel is using modern
And
arms and
the
ammunition. Yeah,
Israel also gets the US support, US Army support. US funds Israel to some extent, while Gaza is a poor city.
yeah,
It
yeah,
has
yeah.
no
That's what I'm
development.
I'm trying to tell. Because this is very unjust war, I must say, that is going on in between these two. Because the one hand, Israel is equipped with lot many modern arms and ammunitions, and so far as the defense strategy of Israel is concerned, it's incomparable with the people living in Palestine. They are with no arms and ammunitions. Women are, you see, women and children are being killed on daily basis almost. And you see, this is what is happening. So it's very difficult to define who can be a terrorist and who is not a terrorist, right? So that's what my
Yes,
point of
yes, and
discussion was.
had this situation been in between India and Pakistan, there would be a much greater chaos which would have happened rather than on this issue. People are not taking stand on this. But if this issue was between India and Pakistan, people would have said much more.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. And also, you see, the world is already been
Sir?
busy with their own problems. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, sir, Pratham this side. Sorry, sir, you can continue. I'll place my question later on.
all right. No, ask your question, please.
Sir, I just want to know because, like, when we were studying about ICJ and all, so the other day I was looking at the role of, sir, UNPKF, United Nations Peacekeeping Force.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, like when I was going through the role of UNPKF, so I found that so far, sir, since its inception, they have done remarkable job in, let's say, during the times when there was a civil war in Sri Lanka. Then, sir, in Sudan, in all these places, sir, they have done an exceptional role. So, sir, don't you think that it's the time for United Nations to intervene and send its peacekeeping forces? When it is very evident that the other powerful countries, or let's say the superpowers, one of the superpowers is supporting either side, and you yourself said that the war is unjust. I mean, it is going on in a manner where one is very powerful and the another one is weak.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you are quite right, Apratim. But the problem with the UN and the other state is UN cannot do things on its own unless United Nations Security Council, you see, they come together and they decide to have a resolution to that effect. Then only the states can actually intervene. And remember, United Nations does not have its army of its own, right? All the activities of the
yes, sir.
United
Yes,
Nations
sir.
are being enforced by the joint military operations of the other states like US, UK, France. Many of the times, these are the states, those who remain there in the UN keeping peacekeeping forces. And
Yes, sir.
you are quite right that UN peacekeeping forces have done a good job in some of the areas. However, I would like to point it out to you here that there were several conditions and situations in the previous past wherein the UN keep peacing forces, they have to literally withdraw from their operations and run away from the situations. For example, when in the year 1994, when there was a mm, genocide going on in Rwanda. You might not have heard about it because it is a matter of international criminal law, and which unfortunately you don't have in the syllabus. But if you see at the situation, massive level of genocide were being created in the year 1994 in Rwanda without any kind of any help, and all international help and all you see states, they were reluctant to look into the particular matter. And United Nations, though UN peacekeeping forces were there right in Rwanda to protect the people, however, they were instructed to withdraw their forces and flee from Rwanda because anything could have happened if these peacekeeping forces could have stayed there. And that's the reason. You see, there is a very good movie on this. I think you must see. It's called Hotel Rwanda. It's a 2004 movie based on the genocide and how people innocently were being killed just because of the racial differences. And these racial differences, like in India, we were divided into Muslims and Hindus by the Britishers. And in Rwanda, if you see Rwanda history, they were ruled by the Belgium. And the Belgium people, when it was time for them to leave, they created a lot of, you see, differences between the same. They said that these people have some physiological differences. Their heads are big, their hands are like monsters, their legs are like that. So, after the assassination of the prime minister of Rwanda, lot of chaos happened, and the people, those who were in majority, they have been killed mercilessly by the people, those who were in the majority in Rwanda. So these people were against, one is Hutu people, and another one is Hutu people. So they, these lot of, you see, violence happened. And in a church at the night, of April, I guess, in 1994, there was a blind firing in the church, because all the people, those who wanted to save, they came out from their home and were hiding in the church. So these military people came, and they started firing, even including children and women. So everywhere and there, if you had a look, and the Rwanda that time, so everywhere there were dead bodies of children, and it's standing on the road, you see. So the question of UN peacekeeping forces, of course, they have done a good job in the past, but again, UN always plays a safe side of role, right? And in the why, because in many of the times in Afghanistan, for example, the UN headquarters was being targeted, and everybody, almost I think 12 to 14 UN officials were being killed. So these are the matters which UN has to take extreme care in. And you see, yesterday only, I think there was a meeting in the UNSC. I forgot to see what happened in that meeting actually, but the agenda was to discuss the problems that were going on in between Israel and Palestine and Gaza. And that's the reason. I think I was hoping that something or the other should have come out, but I don't know whether, because I haven't checked the news yet. But I'm sure that they are uh, trying to intervene into the matter. Once again, you must also be reminded of the fact that now Israel is one of the strong nations that have emerged. It was not the earlier Israel now. Now it has respect and command in the international community, and nobody would usually dare to go, including India, I'm saying, against Israel, because India and Israel have great bondage, and our foreign ministry has worked day and night to establish relationship with that, because we are the two unique nations in the world on the basis of the religion, right? Because on the basis of the religion, we are these two countries which are totally been separate from the rest of the world, right? And as I told you in my previous class somewhere, that to Israeli people, they have no other land to go. That's the reason they are very much stern and stubborn on what they want exactly. And even in doing so, they don't mind uh, the use of force, unfortunately, right? So this is the situation going on in different world. But if you are interested, please go watch the movie. You'll find on any OTT platform. It's called Rwanda, Hotel Rwanda. It was a movie of 2004, a great movie. You will come to know exactly the role of the United Nations by watching movies, right? So the mm, what I was saying was, and why I brought the matter of Jammu and Kashmir with India and Israel and Palestine on the other hand was, it is very much difficult to understand or define in the first place as to who is a terrorist in the first place. Why, we will see very soon. Just to clarify, is my slide visible to you? Can somebody please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Please refer to slide number 2, please. This is the one of the favorite quote that I have when it comes to the terrorism. It says the world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. This goes right and apt on the situation that is going on in between Israel and Palestine. I think that you all must agree to this. Then come to slide number 3. Again, another quotation. This is the basic quotation actually, which says that man as animal is violent, but as spirit he is non-violent. The moment he wakes up to the spirit within, he cannot remain violent. So this is somehow peace I am proposing. Then come to slide number 4. These are the contents of my brief presentation. First, introduction, then defining terrorism, then international framework, then conclusion and suggestion. This is for today's slide for Indian situations and scenarios. I'll refer to some other presentation tomorrow. Okay. Come to slide number 6 directly. Okay, slide number 6. Then again, the story goes the same as I have told you in my previous lectures. Why? Because after the World War II, it was decided or it was believed that the world will come together and they will have a great era to live in. But unfortunately, this could not have been possible because of the various confrontation between the states that were still going on, and mainly it was between the Soviet Union and the US that created the East and West confrontation like anything, which started or which gave rise to the Cold Era. Then the creation of the United Nations happened way back in 1940, 45. And as I mentioned you earlier, that as per UN Charter, Article 2, the main purpose of the United Nations is to bring or to maintain international peace and security. So, by virtue of this Article 2, it was decided that the states should not use force except when it comes to the self-defense as per Article 51 of the UN Charter. External aggression was made one another ground, and third was with the Security Council authorization, just as we discussed, like UN peacekeeping forces. So this always happened with the UN security authorization, and there was then again the cold period. The Iran crisis was there, wherein East and West confrontations were being divided. Then there was the Vietnam War, which was going on. So there was the South and the South and the other part of the world was being divided. Then Security Councils uh, could not resolute, particularly on the state behavior issues, and because of the veto power, they could not come together and they could not decide something very much firmly. Then came the Uniting for Peace resolution by General Assembly way back in November 1950. This Uniting for Peace resolution, which was an idea of General Assembly, worked wonders actually, and it was decided and it was clearly apparent that now we have too many hopes from the Security Council, which was not delivering at the time. So it was up to the General Assembly and the Secretary General of the United Nations to take care of the matter, to take care of those matters where Security Council is not doing much greater. So General Assembly took the issues in its own hand, and Uniting for Peace, in consultation with the Secretary General of the UN, was one of the successful documents that the General Assembly has come up, and by virtue of this, it started various operations, and if you see, it established UNES, that is United Emergency Force, when it came to the matters of Suez Canal and the Congo crisis. This was also the time wherein the vast and major crisis which was going on in several smaller, least developed South African countries. Then, by virtue of the 54 and 52 and 54 of the UN Charter articles, UN Security Council began its role of expansion in the regional arrangements. It started settling the disputes between the state and the other guerrilla organizations. And then, in the year 1991, the great breakup of the Soviet Union has happened, and which paves its way for the better work of the Security Council. And the Secretary General in the year 1992, he came up with the Agenda for Peace document, wherein the Secretary General focused on preventive diplomacy and preventive action. So this was in backdrop of the maintenance of international peace and security, and the Security Council's role and the General Assembly Council role was going on, so as to avoid confrontation in between each other, and also to find a solution between the groups, those who are not well established in the military sense, against the state which are there, which have legal authority under the international law. So at the beginning, you see, we could not do much as it was expected right at the time of creation of the United Nations, because of the confrontations and the ego problems of these bigger states like the US and Soviet Union. Now, I request you to please come to slide number 7. Let us define uh, terrorism, because the the issue which I brought before you today, that is Palestine and Israel, I had some agenda which was hidden, which we'll see now. Now you see, terrorism may just be a crime or retaliation to unjust operation. Dictionaries too have given different meaning. Even United Nations has struggled to come in vain to reach a consensus on the definition of terrorism and related expression, because it is very much difficult to define what do you mean by terrorism. So many people, so many governments, so many states, so many international scholars, they have come up with a definition, but the definition has not been accepted. Why? The problem lies in the third line. The problem of defining terrorism lies in the observation that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Here, exactly, I wanted to make this one point. And if you compare the Palestinians, freedom fighters, from the view of Palestinian people, they are freedom fighters, they are not terrorists. But if you see from the eyes of Israeli authorities, then they are the terrorists. Same thing goes to our own Indian national freedom movement. If you see from the point of view of the Britishers, we were terrorists. But if you see from our Indian point of view, that is to just to free India, then you will uh, term these terrorists as the freedom fighters. So it totally depends on what angle or through which lens you are seeing a particular person or particular group of person. If they are working for your cause, then they become the freedom fighter, or if they are against you, then they become the terrorist. This is the problem, and this is the reason as to why they could not come up with a firm definition of international law. Then in the year 1988, Smith and Jongman, they have studied various definitions, reported as many as 109 different definitions currently in use among reading academics. And finally, please come to slide number 8. Smith and Jongman, they have studied near as many as 109 definition, and this is the definition they have come up when it comes to the international terrorism. They say the terrorism is an inspiring method of repeated violent actions employed by semi-clandestine individual group or state actors for idiosyncratic criminal or political reason, whereby in contrast to assassination. So they are saying that this terrorism is not merely an assassination. This is totally in contrast with the terrorism, right? So the direct targets of the violence are not the main targets. This is also notable point. Many of the terrorist attacks, the terrorist group, if they wanted to make the target direct, they cannot do so because of the so many reasons. So they find easy soft target. Then the immediate human victims of violence are generally chosen at randomly, that is target of opportunity, or selectively by representative or symbolic targets from a target population, serve as message generators, which means these groups, they just want to provide a message to the government that look, if you don't listen to our demand, these things may happen in the future as well. So this is a threat and violence based communication process between the terrorist organization and imperiled victims, and the main targets are used to manipulate the main target audience, turning into a target of terror, a target of demand, a target of attention, depending on whether intimidation, coercion, or propaganda is priorly sought. So this is how very much long definition has been given, and you can see each and every aspect that could be related to the terrorism is been well clearly been defined. So there may be various reasons. The victims may be various. The victim may be varying. The people, the target may be various. The demand may be various, varying, and one and the same, right? Now I request you to please come to slide number 9. This is the international framework which has been provided, which we will see. And can you believe, please come to slide number 10. Can you believe there are, slide number 10, okay, 10. There are as many as 19 international legal instruments. 19, I repeat again, there are 19 international valid legal instrument, that is in the form of conventions or treaties or regional arrangements, what so on and so forth. So since 1963, the international community has elaborated 19 international different instruments directly or indirectly to prevent terrorist activities. Those instruments mainly are developed under the auspices of the United Nations and the International Atomic Energy Agency, and are open to participation by all membership. So we are gonna just see the summary of these all 19 international legal instruments. Now, can you believe that we have 19 international legal instruments, and this is, mind you, apart from the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly resolutions, right? Apart from them, we have 19 comprehensive international conventions that directly or indirectly deals with the problem of terrorism. We will see it one by one. Please come to slide number 11. Okay, slide number 11. These are the instruments which were being implemented, enacted on the basis of the civil aviation. So 1963 Convention on Offense and Certain Acts Committed on the Board Aircraft. It applies to the acts affecting in-flight safety and authorize the aircraft commander to impose reasonable restriction, including restraint, and requires the contracting state to take the custody of offenders and return to the control of the aircraft to the lawful commander. So suppose anybody is doing any illegal or threatening activities on board in the air, then it is the lawful duty of the aircraft commander, usually the pilots, to take care of the particular matter. Then we had the 1970 Convention for the Suppression of Unlawful Seizure of Aircraft, just to suppress the, because 1970s to 1990 and even 2000, you see, this was the time where not many airplanes have been hijacked. That's the reason they have made the unlawful seizure of aircraft as illegal. So it made an offense for any person on board an aircraft to unlawfully, by force or the threat thereof or any other intimidation, to seize or exercise control of that particular aircraft, or to attempt to do so. It also requires the party to the convention to make hijacking punishable by severe penalties, and also requires to have the custody of the offenders. It also requires parties to assist each other when the matters of unlawful seizure of aircraft happens. So this is all relating to the aircraft. Please come to slide number 12. Okay. Then these are also slide number 12. I think it's one on the same. Please come to slide number 13. Then these two are also the international conventions relating to the civil aviation. This is the 1971 Convention for Suppression of Unlawful Act Against Safety of Civil Aviation. Suppose any person is making any problems so far as civil aviation is concerned, then the lawful commander again can take an action on the offenders, and it imposes certain several penalties as well. And also it requires the parties to extradite the offender from one state to another, to or to deport one of offender from one state to another, and so forth. To supplement the 1971 convention, we have 1988 protocol attached to the main convention, which deals which actually extends the provisions of the Montreal Convention. Montreal means the same 1971 convention to encompass terrorist acts at airport serving international aviation. So this is the protocol, and it's a part and parcel of the 1921 convention. Please come or refer to slide number 14, 1-4. Again, if you see, then there is this 2010 Convention on the Suppression of Unlawful Activities relating to international aviation. It usually criminalizes the act of a civil aircraft as a weapon to cause death, injury, or damage. The examples are the 9 and 11 attack in the US. It also criminalizes the act of using aircraft to discharge biological, chemical, or nuclear (BCN) weapons or similar substances to cause death, injury, damage, or the act of using such substances to attack civil aircraft. And further, it further criminalizes activities for using or transporting of the VCN weapons, right? Then it also talks about the cyber attack on air navigation facilities, and they have also made it an offense. Even if they have made a threat to do so an offense, then it is also already supplemented by 2010 protocol, which supplements the Convention for the Suppression of Unlawful Seizure of Aircraft by expanding its scope to cover different forms of aircraft hijacking, including through modern technological means. That means cyber attacks. Then we also have recent 2014 protocol to amend the convention, and which was done successfully. So this is again these are the instruments relating to civil aviation. Please refer to slide number 15, 1-5. Then these are the instruments regarding the protection of international staff. Okay, international staff. Then, which means there is a 1973 International Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime against internationally protected persons. It defines international protected person as the head of the state, minister of foreign state, so all diplomatic persons usually. It also requires the party to criminalize and make punishable by appropriate penalties the people, those who intend to do so, or the intentional murder, kidnapping, and any other act by the person of liberty which may endanger the liberty of internationally protected person, or a violent attack on the official premises, etc., etc. So it protects the protection. It gives protection to the diplomatic people mainly. Then we also have 1979 instrument relating to the taking of hostages. You must be aware of our Indian airplane which was being hijacked at the time of Atal Bihari government by the Taliban people, and there were not many problems. In exchange, they demanded the release of three deadly terrorists, which has again caused terrorist attack in the year 2008. And one of them in among these three terrorists which were released was Hafiz Saeed at the time when our Indian plane got hijacked. Anyway, we have this 1979 Convention against taking of the hostage. It provides the person who sees and detains and threatens to kill, to injure, to continue to detain another person in order to compel a third party, namely a state, an international government organization, etc., etc. So this convention is focused on the suppression of the taking of the hostages. Okay. Then come to slide number 16. These are the instruments which are which are related to the nuclear protection of nuclear material. So 1980, there remains a convention on the physical protection of the nuclear material, which criminalizes the unlawful possession, use, transfer, or theft of nuclear material of any kind, and usually the same. It has also supplemented by 2005 amendments to the convention on the physical protection of nuclear material, and which make it legally binding for the state to protect their nuclear facilities and materials in peaceful domestic use, storage, as well as transport, and provides for expanded cooperation between and among the states regarding rapid measures to locate and recover stolen nuclear material if there are any. So this is about the nuclear materials protection. You cannot imagine if the nuclear material has been stolen by some group or some individuals. What could happen? You can well imagine. That's the reason this is a convention protecting the physical existence of the nuclear material. Yeah, now we'll come to slide number 17, 1-7. We have seen, we have studied the maritime law, that is the law of the sea already. Now here is one more convention, that is the 1998 Convention for the Suppression of the Unlawful Act against the Safety of Maritime Navigation. It established a complete comprehensive legal regime so far as maritime navigation is concerned, and similar to international aviation, it makes the similar provisions, and by making it an offense for a person unlawfully or intentionally to seize or exercise control over a ship by force, threat, or intimidation. And they have also provided some severe penalties under the act, under the convention, right? Then this convention is supplemented by 2005 protocol to the convention, which criminalizes the use of the ship as a device to further act and to further an act of terrorism. It also criminalizes the transport on board a ship with various materials, knowing that they are intended to be used for any terrorist activity. It criminalizes the transporting on the board of the person who have committed the acts of terrorism, and so on and so forth. We also have 1988 Convention Protocol, which again deals with or establishes a legal regime applicable to acts against fixed platform on the continental shelf. That is similar regime to the international civil aviation, right? Then we have another 2005 protocol, which actually adopts the changes to the convention and again deals with the maritime navigation. Please come to slide number 18. Slide number 18. This is directly these are the convention which directly deals with the topic of terrorism. Okay. Then 91 Convention on the marking of plastic explosives for the purpose of detections. This convention is designed to control and limit the use of unmarked, undetectable plastic explosives, and parties are obligated to ensure effective control over the unmarked plastic explosives. Then each party must take necessary and appropriate measures so far as plastic, explosives are concerned, and they must do something to recognize or to identify the plastic explosives. Okay. Then we also have 1997 International Convention for the Suppression of the Terrorist Bombing. Now, bombings by the terrorists is one of the widest methods referred to by the terrorists. As a result, these people have to come up with a convention, which was done in the year 1997, and it created a legal regime of universal declaration over the unlawful and intentional use of explosives and other lethal devices into or against a various defined public places with intent to kill or cause serious bodily injury, or with intent to cause extensive destruction of the public places. So this convention mainly deals with the suppression of the terrorist bombing. Please refer to slide number 19. Then supplementary to the all the above convention is the convention which relates with the financing of the terrorism, because this is what exactly the money comes from to the terrorists, and it is the financial activities are very much important to be monitored. We must know as to where our money is going. That's the reason in the year 1999, again, International Convention for the Suppression of the Financing of Terrorism came into scene, which requires the party to take steps to prevent and counteract the financing of terrorists, whether direct or indirect, through the groups claiming to have charitable, social, cultural goals.
Sir,
Yes, who is speaking, please?
sir Siddharth Bajaj.
Yes.
Sir, can you tell us, sir, which are the groups which UN recognized as terrorist group in world? Sir, does Israel, sir, Israel or sir Gazia? Sir, there's one in mapping, sir. I don't remember full name. Gazia, Amla, sir. Does the UN recognize as terrorist group or?
Now, wait. Now, when it comes to the terrorist groups of terrorists, the United Nations Counter-Terrorism Committee, it has come up with the various list, various names of the groups, and there are so many groups included in the same, which hails from some of you see mainly there are from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and yes, by virtue of the help of Israel, some of them are from Palestine. And I'm not quite sure about the groups which you are mentioning. And every year, you see, the group is being the names in the groups are listed,
Sir,
as well as some of the names are
sir,
delisted.
Gaza trip. Sir, does Gaza trip you recognize as
I'm,
terrorist
I'm
group?
I am so sorry. I plead my ignorance in this. I have no knowledge as to whether Gaza. What the name of the organization is? What is the name of the organization you said, Siddharth?
Hello?
Yes.
Sir,
Can you
Gaza trip.
repeat?
Gaza trip.
Gaza Trip. TRIP.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm I'm
Sir, it
I'm
is,
I'm have to plead my ignorance in this, Siddharth. I do not know because last time I checked the list, it was 2 years ago, and there were certain as near as 45 terrorist organizations which have been listed by the UN.
and sir, one more question, sir. Sir, you have shown us too many convention and for terrorism, for preventing terrorism. So, what are their ground reality implementation? I mean, executive that how much sir, these law applicable in reality in ground? This treaty, a convention. Sorry.
All right. This question can we discuss at the end?
Yes, sir.
This is a very good question that you have asked. Can we
Yes, sir.
discuss? Can we just finish the slides and then we can have discussions because
Yes.
I can see that there are still 17 slides to be covered.
Okay, sir. No problem, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. Thank you. So, students, I was saying that this is the 1999 Convention for the Suppression of the Financing of the Terrorism. Now, you see, financing of the terrorism is very much important. And if you pay attention to the, you see, 1993 bombings which we have, and right after the communal riots, in I think in the aftermath of the Babri Masjid demolition and the Ram Ayodhya Mandir issue, the finance it came from the various unknown resources mainly, and Dubai became the hot place of the terrorist people. They came and discussed, and the people those who were carrying businesses in Bombay they were involved in the same. So financing of terrorism is very much important. You parties must have an eyes as to where the national money exactly is being going, right? So it requires party to take prevent steps to prevent and counteract the financing of terrorists, whether direct or indirect, through groups claiming to have charitable, social, or cultural goals, or which also engage in illicit activities such as drug trafficking or gun running. Now, you have to understand that many of the times the money which was involved behind the drug trafficking and the gun business, it goes almost to all to finance the terrorist activities. Okay, then also the convention commits the state to hold those who finance terrorism criminally, civilly, and administratively liable for such act. Okay, so it also requires for the process for identification, freezing and freezing of the assets, seizures of fund allocated to terrorist activities, so on and so forth. Okay, now please refer to slide number 20. Once again, this is the convention which deals with the separation of act of nuclear terrorism. It came into existence in the year 2005. It covers a broad range of active acts and possible targets, including nuclear power plants and nuclear reactors. It covers threat and attempts to commit such crimes and stipulate that offenders shall be either extradited or prosecuted. It also encourages the states to cooperate in preventing terrorist attacks and deal with the both the crisis situations. Okay, now I think this much is enough for today because I can see that there are still 17 slides. So these were the 19 international conventions that we have under the international law. Now, Siddharth, if you be kind enough to please repeat your question so that I can answer it.
Yes, sir. Sir, sir, as you have seen too many convention regarding terrorism, sir, what are their realities? What are their implementations? Like, sir, there was attack in America, sir. Sir, I don't remember that date. It is famous date, and in India also Taj Mahal attack. So, what was the role of UN, United Nations, at that time? That private international law in United Nations has placed in preventing or in implementing law or in uh, yes, sir. This is my question.
Okay, I got your question. Now you see, these are the 19 international conventions. These are the regime of international law. This is the general international law which is there in relationship with directly or indirectly the topic of terrorism. Okay, you must have to understand this first, right? Now, when it comes to the real implementation, this is one of the problem again of the international law. Something could be there enshrined in the convention, but still the same thing could not have been in the real practice. The situation may have been very much grim and unrealistic when it comes to something which is there in the book and something there which is there in the practice. Now, speaking of the 9 and 11 attack that you just mentioned, remember, these attacks happened against which state? Which was the state? United States of America. And mind you, the great United States of America of 2001. And you see, when attack happens, when such deadliest attack happens against the powerful nation, it these terrorist groups or the state which sponsor the terrorism, they must be prepared for the wrath of the state like US. Now, international law did provide some mechanism. However, the United States was very much fierce in this. They did not. It did not listen to even the UN, I must say. And you see, it came up with its own strategy. And if you remember, I have told you that a state cannot use force against another state except there are three conditions. One is self defense, another is external aggression, and another one is by Security Council authorization. Now, when these attacks happened, the main state, United States, identified were two. One was Afghanistan, and another one was some activities which is going on in Pakistan. However, Pakistan was dependent on the US money to survive that time. So US has cashed that opportunity and extracted the information from Pakistan, gathered intelligence from Pakistan, and they immediately started, you see, creating operations against Afghanistan because they knew that this is the state from where attacks in the 9/11 came from. Then, apart from the three established process or steps to use force under UN Charter, that is again self-defense, external aggression, and also UN Security Authorization, the United States, they invented one another brilliant strategy, I must say, to use force against another. What was that? It was called the war against terrorism. It was, I repeat, the war against terrorism. Okay? So, by using this term, war against terrorism, it started almost carrying out deadliest operations in Afghanistan like never before. Right? So, the situations sometimes when the responses to the terrorist activities depends on the might of the country. For example, another example I can give of the Uri attack, right? When when there was an attack on our armed forces, then the government has carried out, or rather, I should not praise government at all. The Indian military carried out the surgical strikes in Pakistan. Am I right or wrong? This was our
Yes, sir.
yeah. This was
Sir,
our strategy. You see, This was our strategy. And in self-defense, we could do so. We could do so, and any other
Sir,
state in self-defense could do so for that particular matter.
sir, sir, if
And
sir, sir, my question is, sir, United States also recognize this convention, and India also does. So, sir, if it when some terrorism happened, so they go to their municipal law. They do not follow the procedure of private international or these convention. So they follow their own law, and they follow their own procedure to how to prevent that terrorism or how to take against them action, sir. Is it they
no,
do not
no,
follow these?
no, 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 no. Listen to me. Now, have you studied the relationship between international law and the municipal law unit yet?
Sir, I have done my own, sir, study regarding this.
No,
Sir,
no,
in that,
no,
sir, I
no, no, no. Listen to me. Listen to me, please. Now, if you see the United international law in the United States is being followed by two ways. When it comes to international customs and when it comes to international treaties and international conventions. And it has been observed that most of the time it is the monism practice which US follows. Monism means if the president goes, likes, or attends an international conference, suppose he signs and ratifies that particular treaty, then some of the matters, on some of the matters, the moment president signs a particular treaty, it becomes the law of the land in the US. Okay, which means they say that
yes, sir.
international law and national law are one and the same. So you cannot say that they are only following the domestic law. Which means again, if they want to deviate from the non-natural course of the international law, they must first do something at the domestic level and convince the international community that this is what is going on. And at the time of 9 and 11, almost every state was convinced by the level of terrorist activities which were being carried out by the Afghanistan and some deadliest terrorist group like Al Qaeda. So states, mostly powerful states, they take their own course and action when it comes to defending their own national security concern. India was not the same. Nowadays India is not the same that it used to be before. You have to understand because thanks to our again the foreign ministry, the intelligence gathering system, as well as people those who are there doing their jobs in the various consulates, they are doing excellent jobs, and Indian intelligence agency is doing extremely great job. There could be some flaws sometimes, I agree, yes, but uh, again coming back to your question, the ground reality many of the time remains very much stark from what is there in the international law, right? And always remember, when it comes to the issue of national security, every state has a right to be little aggressive so far as protection of the rights are concerned. And US by coming up with the new invention of war against terrorism, it had done it had done many things which actually otherwise would not have been allowed by international, right? Because it is US and it can do so. This is again, as I told you, that this is the problem of international law. You see, sometimes you know what is going on, but you cannot do anything. And you cannot mess with the
Yes,
5 states, those who are there in the permanent seat of the UN Security Council. Because at the time when the world was newly been created in the year 1945 after the World War II, these 5 states put a condition that we have won the World War. And as a condition or as a prize, we must have something in our hand to control or to dominate the international scene in the future times to come. Otherwise, we won't just be a party to this only. And that became the magical sword of Article 27 of the UN Charter. That is, rather, to be very precise, Article 27 sub clause 3 of the UN Charter, which provides about or which talks about or deals about the veto power. So when it comes to these 5 states, you cannot do much really, and it is valid till even now. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
You don't sound, you don't seem to be convincing to that. But but maybe tomorrow we'll have another discussion on the same, because this is very
Yes,
interesting. These are
sir.
very interesting topics, you see, and I can go on and on for, you see, days and days, and for now, nights and nights, because this is the evening, right? We'll have a proper discussion on this maybe after I finish this lectures of yours. Any other question, please? We are finished with the 21 slide, I guess, if I'm not wrong, and we have finished the international convention part. We will also see the General Assembly and the Security Council role in this, which I will clarify to you very soon in the next lecture by tomorrow, right? And those who are, um, I think when you have the next unit test, or there is no unit test now. Do you have any unit test?
Sir, yes, sir, there is reunit test is going on. Those technical problem last time, they are reappearing for reunit test. And those who have not got any problem, they don't have to appear.
Hmm. No, but there is any second. No, I'm not about the retest. That is different. But second unit test, or there is only first
No,
unit test.
sir.
Huh?
Sir, one unit test. No semester exam. No, sir, no unit test. No. Only semester and
Okay.
presentation वगैरह activities.
Okay, great. Well, any questions so far by anybody else?
So,
Please
sir,
introduce yourself, please. I cannot
sir,
see who's speaking.
Mansi.
Mansi again. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, so since we haven't established any specific definition of terrorism on international level,
Hmm.
how should we like define it or put across if some situation happens apart from the state-wise or country-wise definition?
Now, as I've told you, it is all the matter of perception as to how you look at the term terrorism. Okay. Now in India, we had NSA. We have even now NSA. We have UAPA. We have NIA. Now we have NIA mainly dominantly. So all these acts are there. They have defined the term in different aspects. We even had the draconian laws, international laws, national domestic laws like TADA, POTA. They have also come up with the definition. But usually, all the time, it's always conflicting because there are two sides of the coin always. It is very much difficult to define. That's the reason even the UN, even the many of the international scholars, they have failed to determine as to what could be the definition. That's the reason,
Sir,
you see.
Uh, So because
sir,
every
if
time,
one can
uh,
you
Who is
speak
speaking
Mansi,
again?
Mansi.
Yeah, ladies first.
so I was just saying that due to of this situation, every time there will be this conflict that one party will uh, say that this is terrorism that has happened, and the other party will always deny, and there will be no solid statement or proof as to clarify that no, this is terrorism and this is not.
Yeah, you're right. But you see, the terrorists to whom we have caught, they generally don't have any option but to submit it to the jurisdiction. So whatever is the law is applicable so far as terrorism is concerned, is being, you see, put to the test by the courts. So they generally don't have choice. For example, we had this 2008 terrorist attack, Ajmal Kasab trial, right? So that time also, whatever was the definition available, that was the definition of terrorism,
Yes, sir.
right? So these people don't have choice. Though India has claimed that it has carried out a very fair trial in the international community, and actually we did. The at the level we cared for the terrorist, leading terrorist Azmal Kasab, no other state could have done that. We have done that, yes. But you see, when you see the same from the international point of view, or suppose you are Pakistan in this particular situation, what you will say, this is not a fair trial, right? From your state, it may be a fair state or fair trial, but from their views, it may not be a fair trial. Okay, so this problem is eternal. This goes on. It goes on and on and on. It was there in previous time. It is there even now, and every country struggles with the same.
Sir, Apratim this side.
Yes, I
Sir,
was not feeling well because of you didn't speak on the Apratim. Yes, what do you want to say?
hello.
Yes, Apratim, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Sir, I'm saying that you will see that mostly in cases of trials of the terrorists or the persons who have been, accused for carrying out the acts of terrorism. So there has been, I believe, no, debate regarding whether the trial was fair or not. Would you would you agree
There
with
is
the same?
there
Because
is no
in
debate.
case of, sorry, sir.
What you're saying, there is no debate
Yeah,
on. There
because
was
sir,
no
in
debate
case
on Ajmal Kasab.
Yeah, because in case of Kasab also, sir, Pakistan cannot go into debate because of the fact that sir they had already denied that Ajmal Kasab is their citizen.
True. All right, forget Pakistan. Take, for example, any other Muslim country.
So, like the current situation, so Israel and Gaza Strip, sir, the conflict between those two, they both will defend that they are not causing terrorism, they are just defending.
Yes, it is exactly the problem in international law. It is your word against mine. So it is their word against their own. And unfortunately, there exists, as I explained to you in the previous lectures also, that there exists a doctrine called non-interference. So Israel will say that this is our internal affair, please don't interfere. And international community would have to listen to the same. However, if the situation further escalates more, then there may be countries who can come forward and try to stop what is going on in these states. But unfortunately, there are countries which are not brave enough to come up and do something about it. Unfortunately, India is one of the same. These are my personal views. However, you are free to, you see, agree not to agree with me. These are my personal views. Okay, this is what I feel because India should have taken a stand on this. Then the respect for India could have been even greater under international law. But unfortunately, India could not stand the chance because it cannot.
Yes,
India
yes, sir.
cannot.
That's why, sir. In I think yesterday or day before yesterday, Israel PM tweeted, "Thank you to some country," and he didn't include India.
Yeah,
And sir, in before sir, in 90s, sir, United States recognized Palestine as a terrorist group when they were fighting for their separate country. So, sir, that any country, sir, if recognize other country as a terrorist or terrorist group, so, sir, what is the then role of UN, sir, in this?
then again, this is the whole new different topic we are coming up. Have you studied recognition under international law yet? Because this was a topic your other madam was supposed to take. Have you guys studied recognition? Topic of recognition with the unit in your syllabus? Yes or no?
Sir, I have studied little bit, sir, about.
No. This you asked when you will study the recognition well, right? Recognition is totally a political affair. Recognition is just an acknowledgement of the fact that this particular state exists. That's and many states do so because they are politically benefited, and many other states may not do so because they are politically benefited. Right? It's up to entirely a political act. It also can be there can be an express or implied recognition can also be there, but it should be always better in the state which is emerging now that recognition should be in writing, and also recognition should be permanent. It should not be de facto manner. It should be de jure, right?
Yes, sir.
So it totally depends from state to state when it comes to recognition. All right.
And sir, in my opinion, it's better for India that Israel is not recognized in this situation, because then it will convey to the world that India is pro-Israel, whereas India doesn't really want to be in the situation where it is pro-Israel or pro-Palestine.
Yeah, India wants to play its safeguard. The ministry, Indian ministry is quite, you see, very much safe
Sir,
and
India is
playing.
playing safe.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. India is playing safe. And anyway, you see, India is troubled with its own problem, right? We don't have time to
Yes.
think about them. We don't know how to deal with this present COVID situation in the first place. So how do you expect the Indians to, you see, play a greater role? We have very difficult and drastic situation so far as India is concerned. And not only India, this is going on in so many other parts of the world. That's why actually Israel is taking advantage of the same. They know that many countries are busy doing the same. They have their own problems, and that's why you see this is going on. Unfortunately, what to do? Well, any other question, my dear students? Any questions? Apurva Bangle, are you there? Or you
No, sir.
just come in to listen? Very nice. I thought you just there online.
No,
Did
sir. Actually, I did not attend the previous classes, so I just went through all the 3 units that were previously taught. So I was listening to you, but I didn't have a say on it because I was not confirmed about those notes and everything.
Oh, you're so unlucky. You missed my classes.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I'm there still for
Alright.
2 or 3.
Yeah, I'll
I
make sure
think
I will.
there. I'm there for 2, 3 more days. So let us see.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Then let me just ghost some other people also. Ayush Gupta, are you there? Ayush is not there. Okay. Chetan, are you there? Chetan Patwa. Chetan is not there. Kavisha is leaving. Kavisha left, I guess. Mahi Mayuri, are you there? No.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Alright, I didn't hear you speak anytime. That's why.
Mm. No, no, sir, I
Alright, good.
didn't.
Sabya is there. Sabya Parashar is not there. Sahil is there.
Yes, sir.
Sabya, you there? Okay, right. Thank you, Sabya. Sahil, are you there, Sahil? Or are you not feeling well, Sahil? Alright, then. Thank you so much, guys, to be part of my lecture. I'm really happy to see you here. And we indeed had a very good discussion. And I hope to continue the same tomorrow. And tomorrow we will discuss more about the Indian situation. I'll tell you how Indians' situation has been there, and how Indians are coping up with the problems of terrorism. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care. And here is the left left out music for you. Enjoy the music, and we will see very soon tomorrow. Those who want to leave, please leave.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
I lost my mind.